Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Despite the big delay, Junkanoo Carnival Group still planning their own road march for May 6th. The story coming up.
A PLP MP defends the decision to postpone Carnival. That story straight ahead.
Omar Archer Sr. faces charges in the magistrate's court today. That story is coming up straight ahead.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina McNeil. Topping news tonight, despite the controversial decision by the Bahamas National Festival Commission to delay Junkanoo Carnival, Defiant and Outrage Carnival band owners say they will move ahead with their plans to hold Road Fever on the original date. The government and Festival Commission have faced serious backlash over the decision to move the three-day festival back 2 weeks to May 18th to the 20th because of the general election. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Usually around this time in early April, if you were to drive along this West Bay Street strip here near Arawak Key, you would see a lot of Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival signage. But now that the festival has been postponed, there are none. But as we learned today, that's not stopping the show for the many Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival groups involved. Our news team ran into Carnival band owners as they were headed into a meeting with the Bahamas National Festival Commission, one day after they learned that the festival they spent thousands of dollars and many months preparing for had been postponed. The news leaving all of them
disappointed, pissed off. I can say it on there.
Go ahead.
Angry.
The Commission's festival may have been delayed, but Defiant Carnival band owners are now seeking permission to hold their own road march, accompanied with fetes and other soca parties to give revelers who've been planning for months their money's worth.
We are going forward May 6th. You cannot deny me of having an event in a private location. You can't deny me if I'm not doing nothing against national security and national interests on a street parade. We march. Claim that they were going to the Prime Minister's office, and which they did, and they got permission. So all we're going to do is ask to give us permission on the road so we can make sure those persons have spent thousands of dollars. And all we are recording now is all of those persons on social media all over the world giving the Bahamas a bad press. This look bad, Mr. Prime Minister.
Cancel the other functions. Let the groups put on their own events for the Thursday and the Friday to satisfy their clientele. Let us have the road march. That's only one day. That didn't affect nothing.
In a statement Tuesday morning, the Festival Commission called the postponement unavoidable, saying we don't want to be competing for talent, venue space, security services, and other essential services with many rallies and political events that will be going on. Despite their plans to forge ahead with their own Road Fever, co-owner of Euphoria Madness Sean Burrow says the damage is done, as he believes the reputation of Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival has been irreparably damaged.
Everybody saw it as being one of the great carnival destinations in the near future. So if they watching us and seeing we get into this dilemma, they wouldn't think take it serious for the following year.
Meanwhile, as news of the controversial delay spread, prospective visitors and Bahamians called into talk shows and vented on social media. When the Festival Commission made the announcement through a flyer on Instagram Monday night, irate carnival lovers flooded the comment section, many of which were deleted because of obscenities. One peaceful warrior wrote, "No accountability. Were people supposed to be jumping and excited about this news? Spare me." Go Brazil 101 commented, "This is the first time I would have been attending Bahamas Carnival, and this is a blemish on your carnival. I have been to over 10 carnivals around the world, and I can't imagine this would happen so close to the event." I Am Believe wrote, "This makes no sense. It's Memorial Weekend and everyone goes to Miami, South Beach for the events. This reflects poorly on our country, especially for all the persons who have already booked flights, hotels, and paid for costumes." And We Are Royal 101 said, "I've been planning this trip since last year, applied to get my vacation, and now this." Just last Thursday, when we asked Festival Commission CEO Roscoe Dames if he was at all concerned about the impact the upcoming general election could have on Junkanoo Carnival, he insisted that questions should not be directed to him, but instead to the Prime Minister. However, the Festival Commission chairman and Prime Minister have both confirmed it was the Commission that recommended the delay. Torelli says something just isn't adding up.
And I can't see Mr. Paul Major and Mr. Roscoe, businessmen, making this type of decision. I think this is political, and of course politicians make stupid decisions.
And as for the Music Masters semifinals that was scheduled for Grand Bahama later this month, that has been canceled and will be held in Nassau. Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, Well, since the new date for Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival has been announced, Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources V. Alfred Gray says he doesn't see what all the fuss is about. Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
Gray says based on what he understands about the situation, the decision to postpone Carnival was not an easy one.
Given the responsibility to make the decision, I'm sure they would have weighed all of the options and came up with a decision that is in the interest not only of the event, but of the Bahamian people.
Gray says while the shock and outrage comes as no surprise, he doesn't see why people would be so angry, considering the event is now scheduled to take place just a few weeks after the original date.
Any disappointments, fallout would be expected, but when reasonable people act reasonably and or think reasonably, it's a postponement. It's not a cancellation. So whatever they spent to get ready, one day sooner rather than late, they will be able to put whatever they got made and whatever expenditure they might have had, put it into effect.
The Bahamas National Festival Commission has since announced that the new dates for Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival are May 18th through 20th. When asked to respond to critics who insist Junkanoo Carnival should never have been scheduled during a month when the general election is historically held, Gray said this.
Elections are every 5 years. Carnival is supposed to be every year. And so prior to now, I hadn't heard about planning this and planning that. All I'm saying is, they start planning every year from the year before. And so if we have to adjust because of the elections, I think that's a reasonable expectation.
As for what impact he believes the Carnival controversy will have on the PLP's chances of winning the next general election, Gray says it's too early to make any predictions.
So I don't know. I really don't know. You really can't tell because there are people who are for it, there are people who are against it, and we are politicians, we are policy makers, and whatever we do, we try to do it in the interest of the Bahamian people. And so there will always be some for and against, and that's what freedom is all about.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, outspoken activist Omar Archer has been remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections after missing a December court appearance. Free National Movement supporters showed up outside the magistrate's court, shouting the party's campaign slogan today as a smiling Archer arrived under heavy police and defense force guard. Giorgio Bain reports.
Former political hopeful Omar Archer Sr. was brought before the magistrate's court today following a police-issued bulletin for his arrest in connection with criminal libel charges.
It's the people's time, baby. People's time. Red tsunami. People's time. Red tsunami. People's time. People's time. The people's time. The people's time.
Yelling, "It's the people's time," Free National Movement supporters waited outside the Nassau Street Court for Archer's arrival. The 45-year-old resident of Nassau Village was arrested Friday morning, a week after police issued a wanted bulletin for his arrest. Archer's bail was revoked after he missed a December 29th court date on the charge of criminal libel and threats of death. Archer, who smiled as he was escorted inside the magistrate's court today, told Magistrate Darren Roll Davis that he didn't show up because he injured his ankle 2 days prior and sent a medical certificate with his brother. He was represented by a legal team consisting of Free National Movement candidates Ellsworth Johnson and Halson Moultrie, as well as attorney Barry Sawyer. Davis checked the court's records and determined that no medical certificate was ever filed. He then asked Archer why he failed to return to court in the 4 months since he hurt his ankle, which has since healed. According to Archer, he made several attempts to contact the magistrate's office for another court date but was unsuccessful. Archer is a former Progressive Liberal Party member and one-time chairman of the Bahamas Democratic Movement. He has recently been vocal on social media about his support for the Free National Movement. In May 2015, he jumped out of a second-story window at the South Street Court Complex and broke his legs while attempting to evade arrest. Archer was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Magistrate Roll Davis adjourned the matter until Tuesday, April 11th. Meanwhile, Archer left his supporters with these words.
There'll be a tsunami, and nothing can stop the tsunami.
Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Well, the Gaming Board has approved Baha Mar's application for a gaming license. Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe said today in a statement, a comprehensive investigation was conducted into the application submitted by Sky Warrior Bahamas Limited, trading as Baha Mar. He added that the Gaming Board, having considered the application and the report submitted to it, recommended the approval of the application for a gaming license and the various related certificates of suitability. Wilchcombe said he has reached the conclusion that the application, the applicant, and its material stakeholders have all met the qualification requirements and therefore has resolved to grant a gaming license. The tourism minister, who has ministerial responsibility for the Gaming Board, said they will continue to work with Sky Warrior to ensure that the prevailing pre-opening requirements leading up to the soft opening of Baha Mar Casino on April 21st are duly met. And now that Parliament is set to be dissolved next week, there is no hope for government's interception of communications legislation this term. In introducing that legislation, dubbed the Spy Bill earlier this year, Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson said the legislation would be an important crime-fighting tool. Well, outside Cabinet this morning, Maynard Gibson said she hopes the next Parliament moves forward with the crucial bill.
But I'm hoping that the next Parliament will see the wisdom of moving ahead and also, very importantly, taking in mind what the Privy Council has had to say about the importance of the Bahamas updating its laws.
The bill allows for the interception of all communications networks for a period of 3 months. It was in late February that the AG announced the bill was delayed for a period of public consultation. The announcement came amid widespread criticism. Today, she confirmed that public consultation continues, including town hall meetings.
Our consultations are going wonderfully, and when we explain to people that actually it's happening now, and what we want to do is to make sure that we recognize that what modern communications are, which includes internet and all of the kinds of things that went around when the bill was Listening Devices Act was passed. We didn't have internet back then, and so they are happy that we've taken the time to consult.
Maynard Gibson says despite not bringing all the legislation it planned to, she is satisfied with this administration's agenda. In other news, it was a somber scene at Southern Cemetery where the unclaimed bodies of 8 Haitian nationals discovered in the South Beach area back in December were buried. Flies swarmed the wooden boxes, which emitted a strong odor, and were placed in shallow graves as mourners, including the Haitian ambassador to the Bahamas, looked on. Mourners hummed somber hymns as the boxes were lowered into the ground. The bodies of the unidentified men and women washed up along the South Beach shoreline on December 12, 2016. They were believed to be among a group of undocumented Haitian nationals aboard a Haitian sloop that landed in the area. Activist Luby Georges said the Haitian embassy is covering the cost of today's burial.
Haitian embassy is in charge in terms of paying for these services. We are here at Restaurant Funeral Chapel. The director of this mortuary is a Haitian individual. He's not been paid yet, and so as a Haitian he saw it as his duty to ensure that these persons or these lost individuals receive a proper burial, and the embassy through the Haitian government will be paying for it.
Georges said no one was able to provide identification for the deceased. He says even after news of their tragic death spread to Haiti, no one came out and spoke for them. Georges said Haitians continue to risk their lives coming to the Bahamas in search of a better way of life, but some of them have discovered that the grass is not always greener.
Haitians who are here living in the Bahamas, they would try to discourage those that have family back. They would try to discourage their family members from coming. They would say, well, you know, it is hard to get work permits. If you don't have them, you won't be able to find a job. And so they try to explain all of these things to their family members. Stay in Haiti, we'll send you the money. You don't need to come to the Bahamas because things are a bit rough.
Still to come on our news, if you haven't collected your voter's card, operations at the various centers have been extended. That's coming up when our news returns.